Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopijana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Sodanandana Braja Janaranjana Sodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopijana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Sodanandana Brajadanaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Bala, Hare Ba, Nitai Gaura, Hare Ba, Nitai Gaura, Hare Ba. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parivrajikacharya Statara Sadasi Samadhi Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sri Radha Govardhana Ki Jai, Sri Agonitai Ki Jai, Sri Krishna Balaram Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Oh, glorious to some of the devotees, oh, glorious to some of the devotees, oh, glorious to some of the devotees, oh, glorious to Sri Guru and Ranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. Chapter 21, text 15. Tata sachaham parivodukama samana shilam griyameda denum Upeyivan mulam ashesha mulam Durashaya kama dugangripasya Tata sachaham parivodukama Samana shilam griyameda denum Upeyivan mulam ashesha mulam Durashaya kama dugangripasya Someone else? Vaishnavi? Word for word. Tata. Similarly. Sa. Myself. Cha. Also. Aham. I. Parivodukama. Desiring to marry. Samana shilam. A girl of like disposition. Griyameda. In married life. Denum, a cow of plenty. Upeyivan, have approached. Mulam, the root. Ashesha, of everything. Mulam, the source. Durashaya, with lustful desire. Kamaduga, yielding all desires. Angripasya, of you who are the tree. Translation. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. Purport. In spite of his condemning persons, who approached the Lord for material advantages, Kardama Muni expressed his material inability and desire before the Lord by saying, although I know that nothing material should be asked from you, I nevertheless desire to marry a girl of like disposition. The phrase like disposition is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. The similar natures of the boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. Not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current, parents in India used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there would be factual union in their psychological conditions. These considerations are very important. Nowadays, marriage takes place without such consultation, and therefore, soon after the marriage, there is divorce and separation. Formerly, husband and wife used to live together peacefully throughout their whole lives, but nowadays it is a very difficult task. Kardama Muni wanted to have a wife of like disposition because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement, it is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of all desires in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, or a very good wife. Of these three, one who has a very good wife is considered the most fortunate. Before marrying, one should select a wife of like disposition and not be enamored by so-called beauty or other attractive features for sense gratification. In the Bhagavatam 12th canto, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, marriage will be based on the consideration of sex life. As soon as there is deficiency in sex life, the question of divorce will arise. Kardama Muni could have asked his benediction from Uma, for it is recommended in the scriptures that if anyone wants a good wife, he should worship Uma. But he preferred to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead because it is recommended in the Bhagavatam that everyone, whether he is full of desires, has no desire, or desires liberation, should worship the Supreme Lord. Of these three classes of men, one tries to be happy by fulfillment of material desires, another wants to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme, and another, the perfect man, is a devotee. He does not want anything in return from the personality of Godhead. He only wants to render transcendental loving service. In any case, everyone should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he will fulfill everyone's desire. The advantage of worshipping the Supreme Person is that even if one has desires for material enjoyment, if he worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee and have no more material hankering. Tata sachaham parivodukama samana shilam griyameda denum upeyivan mulam asheshamulam durashayakama dugangri pasya. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like a disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. Now, continuing on with Kardama Muni, this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Last class I gave, I was describing the position of Kardama, who was very intelligent and had turned to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also, now we have to remember that he was requested by Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, you should get married and help populate the universe. And so, being ordered by Lord Brahma, he very intelligently went to perform a great tapasya. And so this was in the Satya Yuga, Kardama Muni, and so the tradition was like that. And I gave many other examples. The Prachetas, for example, were ordered to have family, and they too were going to worship the Supreme Personality God. They were going to perform tapasya by going to also a lake, and they were going under the water of the lake and go in the meditation and worship. And before they got there, Lord Shiva happened to come there. Of course, he knew that they were coming, so it wasn't really a coincidence, but so he came there, and he gave them some nice prayers. He said, I know your intention, you were good boys, and I know you are going to do tapasya and meditation and worship the Lord, and I've composed some nice prayers for you to worship the Lord. So there was another example. There are many examples where those who are very intelligent, they know actually to fulfill their instruction or their desire, they go immediately to worship the Supreme Lord. So here we're finding Kardama Muni also the same. He's gone. Now, also he was very submissive to Lord Brahma's instruction. Although his inclination was to be detached, and as Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu was saying yesterday, live a very yogi type of lifestyle. Still, he was requested by higher authority, so he took it very seriously, and he went to perform the tapasya and meditating. Now, here, he's following the order of Lord Brahma, and he's praying, and now the Lord has appeared. Later on in this chapter, we'll read that the Lord actually says, I already know your desire. And Prabhupada explains that, of course, the Lord, as Paramatma, is in everyone's heart. It doesn't need for him to appear before us from a distant place. He's already in our heart. He is everywhere, in everyone's heart. So Krishna already knows our desire. And indeed, the Lord told Kardama Muni, I've already arranged for a nice wife for you. So here, Kardama Muni is worshipping the Lord, and he's making this request. And then we'll read later on in the chapter that Krishna actually said, I already know your desire, and I've already arranged a nice wife for you. And he actually tells him that Swayambhuva Manu is going to come with his wife, and they're going to have Devahuti, their daughter, and they're going to present a Devahuti to you as your future wife. So this was told to Kardama Muni, and indeed when then Swayambhuva Manu, who is also a great personality in the universe, came there, he naturally accepted that Devahuti would be his wife. But here Prabhupada goes on to say that Kardama Muni he knows very well, we see just the nature of the prayers of great personalities, that they know very well the position. Here it's also mentioned that by Prabhupada, one who has broader intelligence understands that the root of these words are used, moolam, I think is the word, moolam, the source, the root of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he knew that Krishna provides in all circumstances. He also knew that the highest position is to not request anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just want to be a devotee of the Lord and serve the Lord to the fullest extent, is the highest position of a devotee. And this is a very high-level, pure devotee, and this is the level of devotee that Prabhupada mentions in the latter part of this purport, of his purport here. He does not want anything in return from the personality of Godhead. He only wants to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. So Prabhupada is talking about the topmost level of devotee, and certainly Kardama Muni is a very high devotee, but nevertheless he's been requested. He's actually revealing he had some desire also, and he knows that really the topmost level is this, that actually one should present themselves and fully submit themselves and surrender to the Supreme Lord Krishna and not desire anything else but to render service. So he knew that. But at the same time, he understood the instruction of Lord Brahma. He understood his own position, and therefore, even though, as Prabhupada says here, in spite of his condemning persons who approach the Lord for material advantages, in the previous verse also was mentioned, only Kardama Muni himself said, only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy. The spell. This is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada in one purport says that all the conditioned souls are under the spell of the material energy. Just like, if you have in the, they say that someone who's practiced in the dark arts can perhaps put you under their spell. And when you're under their spell, you'll kind of seem like the same person, but you're going according to the dictates of the person who has put you under their spell. So you're acting not normally. You're acting according to the wishes of someone else who has put you under the spell. So Prabhupada gives this example also in the Bhagavad Gita in one purport, the spell. So the conditioned souls under the spell, the Maya, we're acting, our normal condition is spirit soul, but somehow or other being affected by the material energy as we're acting in so many ways. We're not acting normally, we're acting under the control, more or less, of the material energy. So it's like being under the spell, walking around under the spell. Confirmed. So Kadama Muni in the previous verse says that person deprived of intelligence. They're deprived of intelligence. They're under the spell of the deluding energy. And it further goes on to say that they want trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses. So trivial. Kadama Muni understands all these kind of situations, anything in the material world, compared to the ocean of bliss in devotional service, is very momentary and trivial. But nevertheless, he understands his position. He's mature enough to come to this point of understanding, and as I said, he also had the instruction so he's presenting this. And so he understands just these types of statements to marry a girl of like disposition. These are the statements. So Prabhupada goes on to elaborate. He says here that Kadama Muni knows his position. He knows what the ultimate position is, but he knows he's got this situation. So he's asking the Lord for something that normally, very exalted devotees don't ask for, but he's intelligent enough to understand that, let me approach the Lord. Prabhupada does comment that he could have worshipped Uma, Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva, those who want a good husband or good wife. As I said in my last class, the gopis, of course, they were worshipping Mother Katyayani, who is a form of Durga Devi, to get Krishna as their husband. But that was another level, and the Acharya said actually they were worshipping the form of Durga, more the internal aspect of Durga rather than the external aspect. But so there are traditions. And in Shastra it is said, if you want a good husband, a good wife, or material wealth, that you can worship all these different demigods. But the source of all this, the source of wealth, the source of beauty, the source of fame, the source of having any good situation over and above the demigods, someone who has brought a higher intelligence, understands the source, the moolam, the root of it all is Krishna. So Kadama Muni had that intelligence, he had that maturity, that, all right, I want something that is on the material level, but let me worship Krishna. And then Prabhupada actually says the advantage of worshipping Krishna is that even one has a desire for material enjoyment, if one worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee. That, he said, the advantage of worshipping Krishna. So in one sense, it was kind of contradictory. For Kadama Muni, he's condemning wanting something on the material platform, but on the other side, he understood that by worshipping Krishna, he's going to become a pure devotee, gradually. So anyway, Prabhupada goes on to say that the like disposition, and Kadama Muni mentions this, I want to marry a girl of like disposition. Prabhupada goes on to say this is very, very important. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. Similar natures of the boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. And of course, Prabhupada's writing at the time, he says not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current. Parents in India, I think even today, they consult the horoscope of the boy and girl. And so this is very, all these things have to be taken into consideration. To find compatibility, especially in Kali Yuga, very, very difficult. There's a lot of disagreement and arguing can be there. And so if one wants to be united with in family life with husband and wife, there has to be compatibility as much as possible. Of course, 100% compatibility is not at all possible in the material world because of just the nature of the world, but as much as possible is intelligent, because after all, we have to live together and have a family, children, the whole thing, whole situation. So these days, of course, people don't give that much. I mean, they give consideration in even Western countries. They give consideration of compatibility, but other things perhaps are given more prominence. The just physical attraction, perhaps, and so on and so forth. But they do give consideration, but it's not insufficient. They just go by getting to know them. Perhaps there's engagement after a certain period. You know, you get to know. You have a desire to get married, then you get engaged first, and you maybe stay engaged for some time, and so the girl gets to know the boy, and the boy gets to know the girl. But it's kind of short term. Even if you're engaged 6 months, 1 year, even a few years, you can't know going into the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. See, in the horoscopes, I'm not an expert in this area, but you know, from what I've read, that I think there's something like 36 gunas that are there that are at the time of your birth. There are different planets that are aligned with the time of your birth. Of course, overall, Krishna arranges for you to take birth in that way, but the planets are there, and there are certain 36 gunas that are affecting your nature and your going forward. This is combined with your previous actions in the previous life going forward. It gets very complicated. But nevertheless, this can be calculated in this way, and if you get certain matches, I think if the 36 gunas are more or less impossible, but it said, I've heard that over 25 or something, between 25 and 32 is very, very good if you can get a match up on that level. So these things calculate, going into the future. We think we know ourselves and we think we know someone else, but how much do we really know, even of ourselves? Of course, Krishna knows us very well. He's in the heart and he's travelled with us birth after birth after birth. So he knows us better than we know ourselves. So Krishna knows, but of course there is the individual independence, and so. But we are falsely thinking we know ourselves very well, and then we spend time with someone else. We're thinking to get married, and so you get engaged. You spend time 1 year, 2 years, but things change. Things change. You have a certain mentality now. She has a certain mentality now, but that mentality changes over time. And so you're getting on well now, but are you going to get on well in 5 years? Are you going to get on well in 10 years, or in 20 years, or in 30 years? So on and so, And also the calculation is made, I think Prabhu Vishnu mentioned yesterday about the families, because in horoscope they it looks into if the families are compatible. These are very, very important. I mean, the boy might like the girl, girl might like the boy, but the families are going to fight with one another. It's going to make everything like hell, right? So situations change. We change. The partner changes. The place changes. Everything changes. Everything becomes different. I remember going and we were going out to a program in Melbourne one time, and a home program, and I said, this is an area, I used to live around this area, and I said, just drive around here, I want to see if, that old place is still here, and it was like a place we all used to hang out, and like childhood memories were flooding back. Let's go and have a look, this is where I used to hang out around here. And so the whole place is gone, it's become a big supermarket with a big car park and everything, just like a shock type of, I was going back thinking to have some memories of the area, but the whole place is gone. I remember one devotee told me that he kind of left Krishna consciousness for a while, and he started to look up his old friends. And he said he went to he was in the area of Coffs Harbour, and he went to, he found out where one old friend was living over there somewhere, and he found out where he lived, and he kind of just thought that he might be home, and he banged on the door, and the guy, it had been quite a number of years, a long time, like 10, 20 years, and so the guy opened the door and he said, I forget, hi Bill, hi Bill, and the guy, yeah, what do you want? It was like very good. What are you doing here? And what do you want? It's like they used to be friends, but all of a sudden he opened the door and said, yeah, what are you doing? What do you want? That was a rude awakening to what he thought was a friendly relationship. Obviously, this guy didn't want to know him anymore. So these whole situations change. So we don't know these things, but these calculations are there in the Vedic astrology, and this is a tradition going right back. So many devotees have studied this. Vasu told me that now Deva Gaur Hari has just gone, is it that right, Vasu? Has just gone to Jagannath Puri to study some course in astrology. And so Banamaj, he comes here, he's very expert. Generally a lot of devotees who want to know their charts go to Banamaj, and he's able to calculate. So you're going to have, and by that calculation, in 5 years, 10 years, in 20 years, these things are going to happen to, these things are going to happen to your partner, this and that and the other, or the compatibility is not so good. Even though now it's good, there's going to be trouble in the future. So better to consult these things. So when these things you don't use these types of methods to get that compatibility. And as I said, Kali Yuga is so difficult. Prabhupada actually meant nowadays is a very difficult task. In one Bhagavatam verse is mentioned that in Kali Yuga, the arguing will go on so much. Wherever there are two people together, they will argue. And that even two people together, they will argue. So the argument and fighting, and we're seeing so much more is becoming. But nevertheless, of course, living in the material world is not the ultimate position, but we are living in the world. We accept the position, but we have to live as peacefully as possible, especially husband and wife have come together. And formerly, husband and wife used to live together very peacefully throughout their whole lives. Nowadays, it's a very difficult task. So, now if one gets a good husband, good wife, so many nice things can come from that. And as Prabhupada says, in astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, very good wife. Of course, if you've got money, if you've got wealth, you've got assets, things can become so much easier. You always have to struggle to get money. Everyone knows just to get a little bit of money these days, to struggle for existence, as I said, is very, very difficult, so expensive to live. So, but if you have somehow or other, if you've got great wealth, you're very fortunate, very, very fortunate person. Or if you've got good sons, the good sons can come up and help you in your situation, look after you in your older age. This is the Vedic tradition that the family would take in, the sons and the daughters would look after the parents in their older age. This is still much of the system, still in India today. It's not so much, a little bit in other countries, but these days I think the tendency is to go and put the elderly parents or the elderly parent in some sort of home, old age home or something like that. Whereas that wasn't even heard of. The families would look after their own. So the one who has good sons and a very good wife, and out of these, if one can get a good wife, Prabhupada says here, of these three, one is considered most fortunate. So vice versa, a good husband, good wife, so very, very fortunate. That can be a great assistance, and if there's compatibility there, they'll never be fully perfect. There'll be difficulties, but at least minimize it as much as possible, and then then we can concentrate also on our spiritual life. If there's always fighting, struggling, it's very difficult to do anything on the spiritual platform. So Kadama Muni could have asked for, we've covered that point. So here, Prabhupada says that in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned that whether one is full of desires, has no desires, or desires liberation, one should worship the Supreme Lord. Akama savakama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogina yajeta purusham param. Person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires, or without any material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada says even if one wants to attain Brahman realization, going to the Brahma Jyoti, is actually Krishna who is the source of the Brahma Jyoti, and the Prabhupada comments in this verse here that he absorbs him into his bodily rays. So even for that, Krishna arranges. So one is advised to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead if one wants to have Brahman realization and be absorbed into the Brahman. And material desires, who better to award material desires? He is the source of everything. And if you have no material desires, certainly, like the devotee, the devotee, certainly Krishna can award you the position where there's no more material desires. One remains fixed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So thank you very much for coming to the Bhagavatam class. I'll read this verse again if anyone has any questions or comments. Tata sachaham parivauduku kama samana shilam griyameda denum upeyivan mulam asheshamulam durashaya kama dugangripasya. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. Does anyone have any question or comment? Yes.
Thanks for class, Marge. So, see, Prabhupada's mentioning the astrology there, but really it seemed astrology, Vastu, etc., he really didn't give much importance himself on it. And, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was an expert astrologer, but he gave it up. There was one Mataji, very expert astrologer, coming a long family line of astrologers. She wrote a book called How to Wreck Your Life with Astrology.
How to?
Wreck your life with astrology. So I'm just wondering, as devotees, how much importance should we be giving, astrology, etc.?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Ultimately, astrology is not important. I always remember the time I was down in, I don't know the name these days, but back in Trivandrum, Padmanabha Swami temple we were visiting, and the devotees had taken me in. They were very good friends with the authorities there, so we went in, and we were going in, and the head priest came, and they actually took us right in the inner sanctorium, right in the DD room. I couldn't believe it. The Lord was lying down, and on the way out we met one gentleman came over, and he said, I am the head astrologer for all the Brahmin priests. And I was just walking into him, very nice man. I said, well, maybe I should get you to do my chart for me. He said, oh no, you are a Swami. I never do for the Swamis because I can do a chart, but Krishna can change it at any moment. And then my reputation will be ruined. So I never do for the Swami, I never do the charts. So Prabhupada, they didn't put so much importance on it. He was a liberated soul, and he didn't. Of course, there's indications maybe there of the things that are going to happen, but ultimately a devotee is dependent on Krishna. So whatever comes, that's meant to come. And of course, as I said, Krishna can change it at any time also. I mean, you may have, due to your past life, things that are meant to happen to you, but because you're a devotee, Krishna can just change it all around and do anything he wants. Or he may allow it to happen, up to him. Up to him. He may allow it to happen in a forceful way or a reduced way or whatever Krishna wants. So as far as devotee, we don't bet the farm on it, so to speak. But nevertheless, especially on these types of levels, good compatibility, this type of thing. Of course, those who are devotees who want to get married, they take mainly their shelter as Krishna. But at the same time, they have to see the compatibility. They want a peaceful life also in devotional service. In devotional service, they want a relatively peaceful life so they can pursue their devotional service. So they take some guidance and they consult various devotees. There's many devotee astrologers. Of course, there's astrologers and there's astrologers. Some are quacks, you can go online and, just put in your details and you can just get the calculation online. You don't have to go and see anyone. I saw something just not long ago, just put in your birth time and put it in. Of course, you want more details, go to an astrologer. This just gives you the general. So you can do all sorts of things, but whether you're getting actual an authentic calculation, that you have to be mindful. But so devotees ultimately, Krishna, we surrender to Krishna and give total importance to that. But at the same time, we're mindful of the material condition while living in the world, and we can take help in these ways. But Prabhupada himself, you're right, he didn't put so much importance on it. But nevertheless, we can see here that he's, in this particular instance, he's stressing on it. So, yes and no. Any other question? Yeah.
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. I actually have 2 questions, if that's okay. Okay. I try one then. You mentioned in the verse, it was mentioned about we should husband and wife see each other's disposition.
Sorry? What?
Disposition.
Whose position?
Like disposition. It was mentioned in the verse about disposition.
Like disposition.
Yeah.
Right.
And you also mentioned about guna or family or present and future. And I was wondering then, what is the main consideration devotee should take into? Is it like, as you mentioned, is it mainly can you find out through astrology or character or someone's varna? What is the main consideration we should look in terms of consideration we should look into to find out disposition?
Of what?
To find out the
compatibility. Oh, well, that you have to go to the astrologer. I don't know if that you have to find an authentic astrologer, and they give you the main concern. I'm not an expert in this area. Next time, if you want to ask, Banu Maharaj is coming in a month or so. If you want to ask him, he'll answer all your questions on that level. So you can just go to him on that one. Okay, over here.
Have you heard the story about astrology being cursed?
The astrology?
Being cursed?
I haven't heard that one.
I think. I'm terrible at recitating.
Oh, you think?
Well, anyway, I'm guessing from my poor memory, but it's something like this. Could be Narada Muni. He wants to find Lord Shiva, and he casts an astrological chart, and from this chart he can find Lord Shiva. And he gets there, and Parvati's annoyed because it's quiet time. And she said, "How did you get here?" And he said, "Astrology." And she goes, "I hereby curse it to be 40% inaccurate."
How much percent inaccurate?
40%.
40%.
Yeah, that's that. Well, I'd imagine that.
I haven't heard that story. It's an interesting story.
Nice story, yeah.
But it could be. Maybe not.
It's a good story. If anyone asks me, to get marriage advice or whatever, it's always good to ask someone who has a failed marriage, because you can get lots of good information. I don't know if this is working, but I always say, yes, astrology for marriage compatibility, good, but get 3 different
Yet,
readings. Because if you just rely on one astrologer,
Oh, yeah,
they may not be so good, etc.
Yeah.
So get 3 and see how you
but
how,
whether you're
how
able
you
to
go.
put it together also.
But
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
been-
I got mine done many decades ago, and to tell you the truth, I don't think any of it's come true.
and,
Yeah, go on.
and I think also we don't really have, I mean, it would be good if we could have training for men how to be husbands and for girls how to be good wives, because we don't really have that training. I know there was Bhakta Das and I were talking about, Bhakta from Melbourne, were talking about this, that it would be great that if any devotees who want to get married on ISKCON property, that they have to have completed a Grihasta course
Right.
to try and minimise the marriage
I remember Jai
failure.
Sheila years ago. He was doing that, wasn't he, Vishnu? He had a Grihasta ministry or something like. Wasn't it? Yeah, and he ran courses. He came
Yes.
across with Vimala, and I think he came here. They're
Yes,
going back.
yes, he did.
And
yes.
so, right. So there have been, I don't know, maybe they're still current, or probably.
I'm not sure about Jai Sheila and his wife, but
They're not doing it now, but they used to. But they probably are. That's a good point.
there's the
To get training is good, because compatibility training. You're going to go in there and you're going to be living with someone, and so for a long time, and so you want it to be peaceful. You want to be happy. You want to be peaceful. I mean, you got to be peaceful to be happy. So as much as possible. So the understanding how, in the Vedic era, of course, this would be done in so many different ways. So.
The Grihasta Vision Group, they
they're
do a
still
lot of
going.
really good,
Grihasta
yeah.
Vision Group, right.
And I arranged for, forget her name now, Uttama Dasi, and her husband, I arranged for them to do a online course for devotees in Australia. They had maybe 30 devotees attending. It was every weekend for 4 weekends.
Good.
Just a nominal charge, and I think Padmalochan did that course. I don't know. I think he liked it.
See the compatibility, and then once you get married, you can do these courses, or before even would be good.
Yeah, ideally before.
Okay, Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.